and I sign in, and we come to our welcome screen, and we can actually tell a lot about the program from this screen. So you can see that it covers 4 main programs: reading, spelling, memory and dictation, and that within each one there are 1, 2, 3 stages. So it's a very wide program covering approximately 6 years of reading. And just to break that down a little bit, we've got some information up here. So here we're on stage 2, and we're on the 4th quartile of stage 2, and in fact we're on the last page of stage 2. So that's unpicking it a little bit for you. Now there are placement exercises to put the student on units of sound at a correct starting point. And for reading, they have to read the words within 2 seconds. So you're placing students where they're working comfortably, not where it is already very difficult. And you're concentrating on decoding within reading. There is a separate placement exercise for spelling. So instead of trying to put these 2 things together, we're reflecting more what happens when you test students and you find that their reading is often ahead of their spelling. So they're placed where they're working comfortably in both of these programs. Memory and dictation both include spelling elements, and so those are placed in accordance with the result of spelling. And this is where I come to one of the big principles of units of sound, which I will take a few minutes to explain. And that's what we call revisiting. Now, units of sound is designed so that the student learns in the way that we learn naturally, rather than a quick and easy way of teaching. So the way we learn things tends not to be all in one go, that we learn a bit about a subject and then we go back to it and get a bit more. Sometimes we forget something and need to revise it, and then gradually it becomes deeper and we are familiar with this area and we're comfortable working with it. So units of sound and words are introduced first of all in reading as new words, and there's lots of help and support for those new words. Within reading itself, they are revisited 4 more times. They're revisited in check words, which are revision words, in check sounds, in sentences, in passages, and in quiz questions, but not all on the same page, so that will rotate. The sounds and words are picked up again in spelling, and there are 3 processes within spelling that I will show you, but which again revise words over a period of time. And then we come to memory, where words are now in phrases, and then later in dictation, where we're dealing with a whole sentence. And so where you might start a sound, let's say shun, in reading, it may take, depending on what the gap is between those, it could take 6 months or longer before you finish the entire process of everything you're going to do with that sound. So it is really quite different from the approach where you have words for reading, words for spelling, use it in writing, do a worksheet, and you've kind of done everything on that sound in 45 minutes. This is a very different approach to that. So I'm going to show you first what happens in reading, and I'm going to go into the reading screen, and I have actually turned off an automatic message first because I wanted to explain something about the screen first of all. So as you can see, we focus on one block of words and your eye is taken to that center to begin with. And there are some question marks which are intriguing, so we wonder what they are. And there would be an automatic message that would come on first that I'm going to play now. You can always replay it.
The unit of sound on this screen is made by the letters PH together giving the sound f, just like the letter F. Say that sound.
I hope you all said your f. Okay, so you get a message which tells you about the part that is new. I'm going to then click on here, and I get that sound again, and I get a highlight. I'm then going to turn it off. Now I think I'm going to investigate some of these question marks.
Photograph.
Okay, so that explores the syllables. And this is what we call the one pencil stage, which is explore. And now I've had a good look at this, these words. I can see the pattern. I've heard the pattern. And that's how we teach the new words in units of sound. It's by patterns. And I'm now going to work through this block as if I was a student.
5 words, all starting with the sound f. They are
Phone,
phone,
photo,
photo,
photograph,
photograph,
photographic,
photographic,
photography.
photography.
Okay, so I've gone through that block, and as you saw, we have what we call, this is what we call the activity box, and that takes your eye even closer to the individual words. So I have a go at reading them first, and then we hear a recorded voice, which is a model to give me the right answer. I now need to interact with this further and get some feedback on how well I did. Now I can click here and have all of them played back to me, including my recording, or I can do it individually. We are short of time, so I'm going to cut down to here to start. So let's see how I did here. Photographic.
Photographic.
Okay, so that was all right, so I can leave that one. Let's have a look at this one. Photography.
Photography.
Okay, so my pronunciation wasn't correct there, so I can immediately re-record. Photography.
Photography.
And if I click now, photography,
photography,
you can see that that is immediately recorded, and I've finished the block by getting them all right. The stars down here tell me how many blocks of content there are, and so when the student has finished that block, they would click there and you start again and you're back in your question mark mode. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next activity within this page. And this looks a little bit like the one we did before, doesn't it? Except we don't have a unit of sound up here, and we can't see a common pattern. And these are what we call check words, so they're revision words that have previously been introduced in blocks, and these are now being revisited in a random order. So in that sense they're harder, but we are already familiar with them. Other than that, the process is the same. I can still have syllable support.
Gentle.
And then if I click to do the block, I will record them in the same way, hear them back, make any corrections that I need, and work through the 4 blocks of material. Okay, and our third activity, and this is moving the number of activities within this page, is showing us where we are. So this is check sounds. So these are sounds that have previously been introduced with lots of blocks of words and lots of examples. And now we're looking to see, well, can you read these check sounds on your own? Now we do have a question mark here, so let's see what we get.
Tree.
Ah, so we get a clue word.
Boy.
Okay, and what happens when there are 2?
Spoon and book.
Okay, so that's where there are 2 sounds. And what we do here now is when we've explored them and we're ready, we record them just like we did with the rest of the, with the word blocks. So I'm just going to have a go at that. E.
E.
Oi.
Oi.
Oo and
Oo and
E.
E.
R. Or. Okay, so you go through that process and then again you click to hear them back, to hear your recording, which of course is building in another layer of repetition. And you saw that I actually got that one right. Sorry, I got this one wrong. What's interesting is that students often don't know that they get a sound or a word wrong until they hear it back. It's that listening back process that tells them. So if I hear this one, Okay, so I'm going to do that one again. Ah. And I just played it back there just to show you that it is immediately in place and has the original recording has been replaced. This will all help pronunciation as well as active reading, and because you're doing the recording they have to say the sounds and words aloud rather than subvocalizing, and it is a very good example of active learning. Okay, our final activity on this particular page is what we call quiz questions, and this is where we look at vocabulary. So I click for the question.
Which is the hobby?
Which is the hobby? Well, that would be photography, and you see the cursor going like this and the children mouthing the words. So I'm going to click and drag, and it's correct. So now I'm going to go to the next one.
Which one can you hear?
Which one can you hear? So this one I'm going to click and stick. I'm going to get the next one wrong.
Which one is like a ghost?
Which one is like a ghost? So let's make it that one. Okay, and then you get the correct answer above, but you only get one go at it. So it is quite challenging, this area. Okay, so that is a lot of the processes in reading. I'm just going to show you one more if I can get to it quickly. This is what we call jump, and it's where it's mostly used by tutors when they just want to get to a specific point quickly, which is obviously what I need to do here. Okay, so this is where we're looking at a passage, and you can see there are 3 stars, so there are 3 screens here. I'm going to go back to the first one, and you can also see the colour setting within the activity box, which there are 4 choices for that. So what the student would do is click on the first sentence and read it aloud. Steam power for travel came into use before 1800, and then click for the sound.
Steam power for travel came into use before 1800.
And so on. And so this is where they're practicing that we've gone from single words to revision sounds, vocabulary, and now we're going to passages. Okay. There is an exercise that we have now scripted within, which you can access from here, from help, that we call reading check. So the student does the reading program, and units of sound will record when they did it and what pages they've done. But really a tutor needs to hear a student read to be able to tell whether that is accurate or whether they need to slow down a bit. And we have scripted that material. We're calling it reading check, and it's really sampling the reading that they have done over 4 weeks, and you do a 10-minute exercise with them, and anyone can do it. In fact, we would be able to use that with parents as well. I really don't have much time to show you that in detail now, as I need to go on to spelling. But Carl, are there any questions on reading before I go on?
No, there was just one question from Catherine regarding the word laughed. Unfortunately, I'm not sure which passage it was on, because the word laughed didn't have a question mark on it.
Laughed is one syllable, that's why.
Okay. Thank you.
And in fact, that's a really good, there are, when you get those screens, that's actually very interesting. Whereas if you glance at a word without reading it, you can think automatically, especially if there are others there, where an ED is 2 syllables, but that's why there was no question mark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's have a look at spelling now. And the spelling page I'm showing you is a little bit behind the reading, which is fairly average. But to begin with, it looks a bit like spelling. Like reading, doesn't it? Except it says spelling there. You've got the words in a block. You've got a unit of sound, and I can click there.
Oh.
And I get the sound to repeat, and I can see and hear a pattern. And this is because we're practicing the words first, and we will be testing them later. So I could notice here perhaps that we've got float, that FL, and stoat, ST, and of course that's quite an unusual word, and students may not know that one. So then I'll start the spelling exercise. There's only one place to start, and the words disappear.
Coat.
And then I hear the word, repeat it, and say the letter names as I type. C-O-A-T, coat.
Goat.
Goat, G-O-A-T, goat.
Boat.
Boat, B-O, let's make a mistake here. Okay, so it hasn't moved on. I can play the sound again if I want to. I can change it, and that was, okay, 3 goes at it, and then it moves on, and I get the correct word up there. So I do get some feedback. But this is practice work, and of course that is the mistake they shouldn't make, because we've actually told you there's going to be an OA in all of these words. So this is where they first do their spelling of the words in the blocks. And then here is the equivalent of the check words of so these are revision words, and you notice here that we don't see the words first. So we're just going by the audio. So let's do the first one.
From.
From, F-R-O-M. I'll get that one right, and I'll get the next one wrong.
Those.
Those, T-H-O-S. And again, it hasn't moved on, so, and I actually have 3 goes here. I'm just going to try and get it wrong to show you. And after 3 goes, it moves on, and I have the correct answer up there. So I don't get to see the words first. I'm learning to work just from the audio, but I do get 3 goes at it. If I move on now, well, this looks a little bit tighter, doesn't it? And we're now in 3 pencil mode, which is when you only get 1 go at things. And this is what we call check spelling. And check spelling is made up of 10 words. This is showing you the words. So always 10 words, 1 from each of the previous 10 pages. So over 10 pages, 10 words from each of those pages are revised. So if you think about that revisiting I was talking about earlier, you can see this is a great example of it.
Light.
Light, L-I-G-H-T. Get that one correct.
Obey.
Obey, O-B-E-Y. Obey.
Knife.
Knife, let's get that one wrong. And you can see it moves on. There's no 3 goes here. You only get 1 go. And you go on through the 10, and I go to score. Now you do need 8 out of 10 here for this screen to move on. With a score like this, the page will stick. In fact, we had a question in an earlier webinar about whether students could cheat. Well, they wouldn't cheat for very long because this would just stick. And if I click there, I can get a little bit more feedback. So I can get the correct word there that I got wrong, and it's also telling me didn't actually do those. And you can print these. I'm just going to finish there.
Okay, might be a moment there's another question's just come in, Margaret.
Yeah.
When spelling out the word, you use the letter name, not the sound. Why do you do that?
Yes, I do, because for spelling, what you need to do in either to write or type is know what letter you need to use, not the sound it makes. It's really the difference between encoding and decoding. The other problem with trying to use the sound is if you just start with fat cat mat words, it may appear to be reasonably useful, but it doesn't work with anything once you get a choice of sounds. Once you get a choice of spelling for the same sound, it is just unusable, and it doesn't actually help you with writing, because when you're writing, you've got to form a letter, and each letter has a name, and that's what this is where you need letter names rather than sounds. Anything else on spelling?
That's all for the questions on spelling at the moment. Thank you very much. That was from Joanna, by the way.
Okay, I'll just let's have a quick look at dictation now, and then we'll see if there are any questions here. Okay, so this is our final activity, if you like. So this is where we think you should be able to read the words, you should be able to spell the words, but we now want you to be moving on to using words in sequence, a little bit more of a memory load, and really working with language at a slightly different level. And you can see that there are 5 sentences in each exercise, and you need to get 4 completely correct to move on. So I'm going to click first of all to hear the sound for the first sentence.
The flank of a hill means the side of a hill.
The flank of a hill means the side of a hill, so to put that in, the flank of a hill means the side of a hill. Put in a full stop, and can you see up here in hints and tips we've got a little bit of a clue here. So this will tell me how many words there are, and it will give you basic punctuation like comma, question mark, apostrophe, full stop. And punctuation is marked here, so if I even just left off that full stop, it would be marked as wrong, but I think that one's correct. What you should do, of course, there is play the sound again and check it against it. So you're actually teaching checking at a single sentence level. And we all know students that have produced 2 pages of writing, and you ask them to check it. You don't know where to start marking it, and neither does the student know how to check. This drips that in right from the beginning. So get that one correct. I've got a nice gold star. Move on. Get one wrong.
She put it in the trunk for safekeeping.
She put it in a trunk for safe keeping. Okay, so I've got that one wrong, but I get my immediate feedback, which is lined up, so you can actually see where you went wrong. Again, you've got your help up there. Got a grey star, didn't get it right. And when I move on, this is where I would need to get 4. And again, you've got some feedback there. Now, what we've done in version 6 that is new with dictation is we're now going to use these dictation sentences as a basis for writing. So right from stage 1, page 1, when the student does their 5 sentences and prints them, they then use them for a writing exercise, which is detailed. I'll just show you this actually. You see this icon here, which it takes us to our help area. So if I just go in here, obviously there's lots and lots of information here to show you how to use the program. There are also audio-visual tutorials on each screen which students can use as well as staff for showing you exactly what to do. But we've got this area here of writing activities, and it is actually a document that you print as well. So what happens with at the beginning of stage 1 is that the student has done the dictation sentences, and then they take each of those sentences and add some more words. So they just make the sentence longer. And then after they've done that for a while, they would add another line. So each sentence is a little scene, if you like, and so you add something to it, what happens next. In stage 2, you develop that into paragraph writing, and then in stage 3, you develop that further with parameters on time, that it has to be done in 10 minutes, and a minimum number of words per sentence. So you're developing this writing by dripping a little bit in every lesson. Okay. I think we're just running out of time, so I'll just say one thing more. As you can see here, everything is all nicely lit up, and I can access these programs. We have something called Autoroute, which defines the order the students go through the program, which helps them when they're working independently. They may be doing this at home. And you do find students will home in on one program and just do this one. And the auto route means that to start with, only reading would be live, the rest would be grayed out. And then when you've finished that page, reading would be grayed out and spelling would be live, and so on. So that it is controlled how the student works through that program. Okay, Carl, any more questions?
We have indeed. Going back to dictation, can the student hear the sentence again while they are writing, or only once they've written it?
Well, it's a little bit more the other way. You can start writing while you're still listening, and you can repeat it at any time, other than once you've marked it.
Okay. Changing the subject, it's a licensing issue. Will version 6 be available for parents who now have the older version without having to re-register? And that's from Dawn.
No. We will be, we haven't developed the parents area yet, but we will probably be starting some trials with parents in the new year. And the license for parents will be for one student, I believe for a year. I can't quite remember that. I think it's for a year. But there isn't an automatic upgrade for parents.
Okay.
Partly because of the price level we put for literacy that fits.
Okay, one from Helen here. How long does the placement test take to complete, i.e. would a student be expected to be placed in one initial session?
Yes. Obviously it depends where the student is in the program, how long it takes to place them. What happens is the words react to what the student gets right and wrong. And so a student who is going to start very near the beginning of stage 1, it takes very short time to place them, a couple of minutes. We aim that everyone should be placed on either reading or spelling in 10 minutes. And it is something that we will be monitoring, because we will actually get that figure of how long that takes. The placement uses different words for reading and spelling, and so you can do them in the same session. And in fact, what we've been doing quite often is working in twos. So you get one doing one doing spelling, and you can keep an eye on them where you work with the other one on the reading, which a teacher does need to be involved in, and then you swap round. So you may get through the two students on the two programs in 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it for the questions for the moment, unless anybody else has any questions. I have one question for you.